So guys, welcome back after the break, and let's continue with the next question that involves a case study. Now this case study is about urbanization. Now if you look at it, 2/3 of the people already live in urban areas. As you can see over the past decades how it increased, there's the percentages, and as you can see the people living in rural areas has dropped over the same time. So that means the people from the rural areas has moved to the urban areas. Now the reason why we have such a massive trend, if you read in your case study, is because after apartheid, you had to remember we had the laws. Black people were not allowed to live in urban areas. They had their homelands. And because of higher economic growth in the areas. So it attracts people. That's the pull factors. There's more jobs, better employment opportunities, better services, and better housing. So let's quickly go and have a look at the questions that's being asked over here. First of all, define the term urbanization. Now, to define it, it's the process whereby the percentage of people living in urban areas increased. So it means there's more people because of the urbanization, the population increase. Now, what proportion of South Africa lived in urban areas in 2011? If we quickly go back to our case study, in 2011, there is the correct answer, directly from your case study, 62%. Give two possible reasons for the high growth rate in urbanization in South Africa, mentioned in the case study. Now, the first one was apartheid, the apartheid laws. Now, keep in mind, if you studied history in grade 9, we talked about the apartheid laws. Black people were not allowed to live in urban areas, the white urban areas. They had their homelands. So because of apartheid laws, once after 1994, black people were allowed in the urban areas. So that's our first one, apartheid laws. And according to it, people wanted to move there because of higher economic opportunities and growth in urban areas. Now, another reason for it is immigrants, especially coming from other countries, also creating a huge influx of this urbanization. Now, what is the term used to describe the decreasing number of people left in rural areas? Now, we talked about rural-urban migration, but this is rural depopulation. Now, basically what happens, there's less and less people left in the rural areas because most of the people had migrated to the urban areas in search for a better quality of life. Now, unfortunately, when we look at urbanization, there's some negative aspects regarding that. Now, keep in mind, the urban area, once it was built with settlements, it can only house so many people. So all of a sudden, there's a great influx of people arriving at the urban area. Now, the first problem that we're going to experience is going to put pressure on our service delivery. And I'm talking about collecting rubbish, water supply, electricity. Now, all of a sudden, because all of the movement of all of these people, what's going to happen? There's going to be a higher demand for electricity. There's going to be a higher demand for housing. There's going to be a higher demand for water. So that's probably the biggest problem that we experience. It puts pressure on the service delivery. Our second point is it creates a lot of pollution. More pollution are being generated, like waste disposal. And unfortunately, what happens as well, crime increases because not many people can find employment opportunity. So unfortunately, they move over to crime. Another reason what we can see over there as well, the infrastructure will take strain. So the government will have to spend more money to keep it intact. There's going to be increase with pollution. Think of cars, more cars because more people have moved to the urban areas, and there's going to be increase in pollution, and we can say congestion. For instance, traffic. And unfortunately, what's going to grow as well, there's going to be an increase in informal settlements. Because most of us people won't be able to afford housing, or because there's a shortage of housing. So there's going to be increase in informal settlements where it lacks basic needs and services and creates unsafe conditions to live in. If you look at our next question, and it's a graph showing some information on it. It shows the contribution of economic activities to the GDP. GDP stands for gross domestic product. Now, if you quickly have a look at it, if you look at key one is agriculture, that's farming. If you look at mining, that's gold, platinum is over there. Electricity, gas and water is over there to service. Manufacturing is secondary activities, as you can see. I'm just going to write secondary activities over here. These two are primary activities. 5 is finance, definitely a tertiary activity. 6 is construction, and 7 is internet. So it's basically this graph shows us, bar graph shows us the percentage that it adds to the GDP. And by the look of things, finance contribute most to the GDP. Now quickly look at the questions that follow. Which economic activity contributed the highest percentage to the GDP? If you look at the graph, number 5, situated over there, 19% is finance. What was the percentage contribution to the activity mentioned in question 3.5.1? Now that information we will get from the graph as well. As you can see, where do I get this information from? There you go, the percentage, 19%. So the correct answer over there is 19%. Let's quickly have a look at our next question. Discuss any 2 natural factors that limit agricultural development. Natural, and we look at the agricultural development. As we can see on the graph, agricultural is the lowest, only contributes 2.1. Now, what natural factors hinder the development over here? Now, first and foremost is definitely our climate. Because of the subtropical high pressure belt, we are quite an arid area, so we don't receive that much rainfall. So with the climate, I can say we lack rain. Another reason is this type of soil. It means our soil is not always fertile. It's not arable, so it means we can't always plant in the soil and expect the crops to grow. Another reason, climate change, such as global warming, major influence. So we experience more floods, we experience more droughts, and unfortunately have a very negative consequence on our farming community, because it means they're not going to harvest what they usually expect to do. And another factor is climate hazards. And when I refer to climate hazards, it's like hail, can destroy the crops, or lightning that can cause devastating veld fires. And unfortunately, another problem is the amount of pollution that's being created. Okay, so that can also create a problem. One that we want to add over here as well is diseases. I'm just going to write it over there. For instance, bird flu. South Africa actually experiencing it in the end of 2017, and it has a very negative impact on our poultry production. Now, discuss the importance of agriculture for economic development. Now, first of all, foremost, it provides employment opportunities. And providing employment opportunities, it means we improve the standard of living of other people. The second reason, it creates, we can export the foods. Food export, and it means foreign capital. And with foreign capital, it promotes development in infrastructure, and small towns, because it's a primary activity. And if our agricultural section do well, it means people don't have to migrate from our rural areas to our urban areas. So it means people can have a quality of life in the rural areas, and instead of migrating to the urban areas where there's going to be more negative consequences because the influx of people is too great. And we're actually helping the urban areas in this situation as well. Now, incorrect farming methods have a negative impact on food security. Now, what is food security again? When you do not have enough food to feed your family or yourself, your daily calorie intake is below world standards. Now, incorrect farming methods, most importantly, when we do not use the correct farming methods, it means we're going to produce less. Production will be less. So that means less food is going to be produced. Now, another concern, incorrect farming methods, it creates soil erosion, and that's the last thing that we need in this country. We already discussed in the previous answer, many of our lands is not arable, is not fertile. And if soil erosion has been created, it means we won't be able to use the land anymore, it won't be fertile anymore. So definitely incorrect farming methods lead to soil erosion, soil becomes infertile, and that leads to less food are being produced, and eventually food needs to be imported. So that means it costs our country more because we can't produce enough food. Okay, let's continue and look at our next question. Now, read the extract on the Maputo Development Corridor. Now, first of all, if we look at Maputo, where do we find Maputo? It's in Mozambique. It's the capital of Mozambique. And answer the questions that follow. Now, the Maputo Development Corridor, or SDI, runs from Witbank, Mpumalanga through to Nelspruit to the capital of Mozambique, Maputo. The transport route offers the shortest link from Gauteng, the industrial hub of South Africa. Now, when we look at the economic South Africa, we've noticed that our biggest economical hub in South Africa is the PWV. It stands for Pretoria Witwatersrandvereniging. Most of our industries are over there. And it's a link directly from there to Nelspruit, Witbank, and Maputo is the capital of Mozambique. 150 investment opportunities have been identified for infrastructure provision and for agriculture, mining, energy, and manufacturing. So people are investing because they see it as a sound investment. They can make money of it, and it can improve the quality of life of the people. The main infrastructure projects are the N4 Maputo Corridor, toll road, costing 1.5 billion. The upgrading of the railway line from Rosano Garcia to Maputo, the upgrading of the Maputo port, port is a harbour, and the upgrading of telecommunication. So that's the case study that we're going to discuss now. Just stay tuned, and after the break, we're going to look at the questions. See you in a bit.